It's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, we're going to talk about three things today, aren't we? We're going to talk about Rachel Morin, this beautiful woman whose life was cut short 2 years ago, more or less to the day, actually. And her murderer eventually was apprehended, and we're going to hear about that. We're going to do a recap of the case. And he will be sentenced, I think it's on Monday. So we'll be covering that because then, he's going into the vortex, going into the hellhole. I've already put him in there, to be honest, and we're going to have a look at that as well. Rachel, 37 years old, mother of 5 children who have all been displaced. Because they lived with Rachel, most of them, but they were different fathers. So their whole family life has been, apart from losing their mum, their whole family life has been torn asunder. And this was a case that we've covered right from the beginning, right from 2 years ago, when Rachel disappeared off a jogging trail, didn't she? She was just doing the most ordinary thing. Went for a jog in the evening. Rachel, as you can see, she looked after herself very much so. She was a keep fit fanatic. She looked after her appearance, etc. And evil was waiting for her on that trail. And unfortunately, she was snatched, literally snatched off the trail. It's not clear if the perpetrator was waiting for her or just for any woman to walk past. It's not clear, is it? And he's not talking because he pled not guilty. And of course, there was a lot of things then resulted when he was finally caught. He is a fledgling serial killer. He's only 23 years old. Even now, and he'd already killed someone in his native country, El Salvador. He'd tried 4 times to get over the border into the USA, and he finally succeeded. On the last occasion, he snuck over the border. This is one of the high-profile cases that sort of fueled the Donald Trump sort of immigration thing of illegal immigrants, going over into America and murdering American people, etc. And this case was hijacked a little bit by Donald Trump. And of course, Rachel's mother went along with it all. But anyway, we'll go into that more when it comes to it. So that's the first case we're going to talk about. When we start to talk about her, I'd like you, if you would, fill the chat with orange hearts, please, for Rachel. Because this woman, I hope she's at peace. She probably be at peace if he gets life without parole. I can't see him getting anything but life without parole. But do you know what? You never know, do you? There's no death penalty up there in Maryland where he's being held. But remember, the sheriff there said, Sheriff Jeff, they just want to know that he's behind bars forever and they're in control of it. So we're going to talk about that case. Then we're going to talk about this. There's an interesting thing that in the UK, some skeletal remains have been found on a beach near Blackpool, which is, skeletal remains sounds like they've been there a long time. It's a funny place, I think, to bury someone on a beach because you feel, there's a lot of people go to the beach, don't they? In that, how would you bury? And also sand. You think burying someone in sand, you feel like it would get disturbed, like if there was a storm or something. Anyway, we're going to look into what we know about it so far. All we know is skeletal remains have been found. Don't know if it's a man or a woman, a young person, an old person. We don't know any more than that. Just the police have confirmed that they are human remains. And there's some talk that they may be the remains of Charlene Downs. That's one person who's gone missing in the area. There'll be loads of others, I imagine. But, it's just something. And we're going to talk about that. And then that leads us on in an unfortunate way. So what I'm going to talk about, the third thing I'm going to talk about, which I haven't talked about for a while, which is Jack O'Sullivan, who's a young man who went missing in Bristol. And how can I put it? His mum is still without answers. He's been missing for well over a year now, and his mum still hasn't got answers. Not only his mum, his dad, his brother, about what happened to him. What did happen to him? I mean, something happened to him, so, and it leads me to the question of, I mean, as soon as any remains are found, I'm sure Catherine, and not only her, but the parents or family, loved ones of any missing person must go on the alert, although these remains have been found so far away from where Jack went missing, it's unlikely it's anything to do with Jack. But it must make you think when you see the headlines, oh, human remains found, etc., as a parent or a loved one of a missing person. And I wonder how that feels, especially when a long time has gone by, because you want to know what's happened to your loved one, don't you? You want to know what's happened to your loved one. But of course, you don't want this to have happened to your loved one. You probably always got that little hope inside that one day they will get found safe and well somewhere, and there'll be an explanation for everything. So I expect with these remains being found, in Blackpool or near Blackpool, Cleveland, there'll be speculation about quite a lot of missing people from around that area. There'll be quite a lot of families wondering if they're going to get the answer to what happened to their loved one, even though it's a bad answer. At least it's an answer, isn't it? Okay, so first of all, say my thank yous. Thank you for liking. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. A very special thank you to my members. You are the mainstay of my channel. Thank you to everyone who sent me a super sticker, bought me a Ko-fi, PayPal'd me, sent me a nice email, left a nice message, been supportive in any way, shape or form. Thank you so much. So now the hellos. Hello, lovely lurkers. Kiss for you. Hello, loathsome lurkers, but you don't get a kiss. Hello, replay crew. Thank you so much for watching. And now I'm going to come into the chat and say hello to those of you who are brave enough to enter the chat. So don't forget, we've got the chat for my two YouTube channels. So for the Spanish channel and for the Vicky Marie True Crime channel. So you may, if you don't see somebody who I say hello to, that's probably why, if they're on the other, watching on the other channel, chatting on the other channel, but the chat is coming up on the screen for that reason. So people don't think they've been, because sometimes people think they've been blocked or something's happened, but it's often just because the other person is watching on the other channel. Oh, and thank you, I should say a special thank you to the people that have become members on there as well, on the Spanish channel. Thank you. Right, I'll have a little swig. So I'm on the herbal tea today, trying to be good. Just need to drink as many liquids as possible. I'm not a lover of water, because it's still hot here, though. It's a little bit cooler today. It's only 28 degrees. So it's when it reaches 30 and above that it gets really horrible. And I just get bored with water, so it's quite nice to drink something different. So, okay, let's have a look. So there's a few of you chatting in there. Hi, Tracy. Good morning. Hi, Lily. Hi, Angel. Hi, Westside. Okay, so we're going to talk about Rachel first. Please put some orange hearts in the chat for Rachel, because this woman, just breaks my heart what happened to this woman, and how her family, her children especially, what this man has. man has done to this family is terrible. So yeah, let's go with the orange hearts for Rachel. We have to remember, these just terrible when all the ripples that go out from that horrible act that he did to Rachel, the ripples that go out, to her 5 children, anyone who ever loved her, all her family, her boyfriend at the time, he came under suspicion briefly, of course. And, I'll do some for you, Tracy. Can't you do orange hearts on you? There you go. If you type in emojis orange, that's what I did. I typed in orange and then they came up, but I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work on yours. Yeah, a boyfriend probably previous partners of Rachel came under suspicion very briefly, because as we'll see soon, some DNA was found. It was a complete shock, wasn't it? The DNA was found on another crime scene all the way over in Los Angeles, right over the other side of America from Maryland. DNA was found, it was found to match that had been with a previous crime, a similar crime, but it didn't result in a death, at least, thankfully. And also, of course, we know that this is definitely a fledgling serial killer. Let's have a look at him. We should have a look on. We should have a look at him. Now I've put him. This is him, Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez. And this man is from El Salvador originally. So we know he was in Los Angeles at some point because he committed a horrible crime there. Then he went over to Maryland, right, as I say, right over the other side of America, and he murdered Rachel. He had family over there, I think, or people he knew. He then fled from there and he went to, I think it was Tulsa. Yeah, Tulsa police. That's where he was finally arrested. He's traveled all over America. He doesn't have transport, so it seems like he's traveled in Greyhound buses or whatever. I know America's probably easy to, you can get around it, even though it's huge. And, just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Has he committed any other crimes? He certainly would have committed more crimes, wouldn't he? He definitely would. This guy was not going to stop, because then it turned out that even in his native, before he even left El Salvador, he'd murdered a girl there as well. So I don't know what's going to happen about that. I know that in Maryland, the sheriff doesn't want him. They don't want him to go out of their control, to go back to El Salvador to face a trial there. He wants to keep him exactly where he knows where he is. So I don't know what will happen there. I mean, surely they could have him on a video link or something. Don't actually have to take these in this day and age. Surely you don't have to actually take somebody to a place for them to have a trial. Can't you have a trial over a video link? Just want to show you this picture of Rachel. This was Rachel. And there's lots of lovely pictures of Rachel that are on her Facebook, Instagram, etc. And of course, with her children. Now, Rachel, incredibly, of course, is now a grandma as well. Her oldest daughter, Faye, has had a baby. And, although it seems sad that Rachel didn't get to meet her granddaughter in this life, I 100% believe that Rachel would have met her granddaughter in the pre-life, and it's almost like it was meant to be, isn't it? That as unfortunately Faye lost her mum, but now she's got a baby to look after, to give her love to and Faye and her mum and Rachel had such a lovely relationship. From what I can gather about Rachel, she was a fabulous mom. And, so hopefully Faye will have that relationship with her daughter as well. And I hope to God, and I'm sure that Rachel, in the pre-life, before that baby, in that time before that baby was actually born, and after Rachel sadly had died, maybe they met in the pre-life. That's what I like to think, and I'm going to think that. People can either believe it or not. I believe it 100%. Okay, so we're going to watch a video from News Nation that gives a background to this case, just gives us a reminder, because of course the actual incident was 2 years ago. So it's quite a long time ago, but you know what? It feels like yesterday. It's weird, really. Just feels like yesterday that we were, looking for answers for Rachel. Oh, first of all, as well, I just want to show you, I've put him in the hellhole already. Into the hellhole. Adios, Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez. And he's like a little sort of, I don't know, little short ass, and he doesn't look scary. He's very clever. I do think Victor is cunning. Quite often we get twonks that we talk about, and they're not really that clever, are they? I do think Victor is quite clever or cunning. He's like a fox. He's cunning. He was all over the country, and he's got this, to have got over the border, and he's escaped. He's really been on the run. If you take it from when he killed the girl in El Salvador, he's been on the run for a long, long time. And he took in his family, he's used I think he's probably one of those people that would ring up, his 22nd cousin, thirdly removed, and say, oh, I'm your cousin, and can I come and stay because blah, blah, de blah, de blah, de blah. I expect he's imposed on a lot of his family. And of course, they didn't know what sort of person he was. And of course, he's South American. Families are important. Family ties, there's large extended families that in that sort of community, in that culture. And Victor the Viper, he used it to his best advantage. And yeah, as I say, he was on the run for, if you even just count from when Rachel was murdered, it was a long time. But if you think about it from when the girl in El Salvador was murdered, it was a really long time that Victor was on the run. So he's got some cunning, hasn't he? You know what I mean? Okay, so let's have a look at this video. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to do any videos this weekend. I'm supposed to be doing my Spanish, but I just could not face it. I'd much rather be chatting to you guys. And there were things I wanted to talk about, like Rachel Morin's sentencing of her murderer and these remains found on the beach, etc. And Jack O'Sullivan, of course, who I've been meaning to talk about again for quite a while, but there's always something, isn't there? But I like to keep highlighting Jack's case because, at the end of the day, he's still missing. So let's have a look at this video. So we're going to start, though, with... this is a very, I really do like, I need to give News Nation credit. They're a very good channel. It's a very interesting video that sort of compacts in everything, about the case. The only thing that's, they're going to have Rachel's mum speaking after the sentencing on Monday. Well, unfortunately, Rachel's children are suing Rachel's mum because her and her lawyer, the children didn't get any of the GoFundMe that was put in place supposedly for them. They've never seen a penny of it. So they are suing Rachel's mum. And from what I can gather from somebody who's very close to the whole situation, Rachel's mum spent more time with Donald Trump than she did with Rachel's children after Rachel was murdered. That was their exact words. So I'll just leave that there, though. So that's the only thing. Here on News Nation, she's going to be interviewed, they'll be just she'll bring in something about illegal aliens, and Donald Trump's a bloody hero according to her. But we will look at that on Monday. We will be covering the sentencing on Monday.
Perfectly ordinary thing on a perfectly ordinary evening, and paid for it in unspeakable ways. I know you remember what happened. The ambush on the jogging trail, the rape, the killing, the months-long hunt for a suspect, and finally the capture, the trial, the speedy conviction. On Monday, Rachel Morin's killer will stand before a judge in Maryland to learn his fate, which I can tell you already is going to be a damn sight better than his victims. Ashley Banfield looks back on the case.
It was a little after 6 p.m. on an August Saturday in 2023 when Rachel Morin parked her car near the entrance of the Ma and Pa Trail.
Now, this trail is a beautiful place, you know, where families go. Rachel's been walking there ever since she was a child. She was taken there by her parents. You know, she's walked there all her life and never felt, it's not, looking at it, it's not a place where you feel that you'd feel unsafe, because there's a lot of people about. But you know what, these sort of Victor the Viper, when evil comes like that, you sometimes you wonder, how can you ever stop these things happening? Now, since Rachel was murdered, they've put CCTV cameras everywhere. These AI ones, you know, that I don't know, do something spectacular. So, you know, but of course, even CCTV cameras, they don't stop things happening, but they help to catch killers. And I suppose they at least put people off if they can see that there's cameras on them everywhere. So, yeah, that's something that's been done since Rachel was killed.
She still had a good 2 hours to get in a run. And for a 37-year-old mom of 5 and a fitness fanatic, this trail was more than a workout. It was a refuge, a place to unwind, to recharge, to clear your mind after a hectic day. It used to be a railroad line. The Ma stands for Maryland, and the Pa stands for Pennsylvania.
And I didn't know that, because I had just presumed Ma and Pa. I just presumed it was like mum, you know, a family place. But no, so thank you, Ashley, for letting us know where the name comes from. Maryland and Pennsylvania Heritage Trail.
But as a green space, it sees more traffic than ever before, on foot and on bikes. And while Rachel Morin never expected to have the trail to herself, she most certainly did not expect to face a killer just minutes after starting her run. That killer was lying in wait for...
Now, the guy's eyes just go through, don't they? It's very sad to think that that was the last face that Rachel saw, that horrible face of his. It's really horrible to think that. Bless her. I hope she didn't suffer for very long. I mean, it was a brutal murder, but I'm just hoping she didn't really know what was going on, because after he hit her over the head and that, but I think she perhaps did know what was going on for a little while. But anyway, it's best not to think about that. She's out of all that now. But just the thought of those horrible eyes being the last eyes that you see on this earth.
Rachel, or for someone to come around a bend. But he probably didn't wait long. And when he saw his chance, he took it. He grabbed Rachel Morin and dragged her through the woods, and then raped her and beat her to death. When the unimaginable violence was over, he dumped Rachel's body in a drainage culvert.
Yeah.
And hours later, when Rachel didn't come home...
Yeah, he just dumped her in the storm drain thing, or whatever, or culvert. Just disgusting, like she was a piece of rubbish. I mean, I don't know the circumstances of the murder in El Salvador, but I do know that the Los Angeles incident was a child, a young girl, and her mother. I mean, we don't know the full details, and I presume that'll go to trial sooner or later. I don't know. But he literally walked in. It was a home invasion. Literally walked into their home and then walked out again as cool as a cucumber. We'll see that video on here.
Home, her new boyfriend, Richard Tobin, reported her missing. Police searched the trail and the surrounding areas, but they came up empty-handed. And it wasn't until early the next afternoon when a passerby spotted Rachel's naked body and called 911.
Now, that's not actually factually correct. It was not a passerby. The girl who found Rachel was Cecilia. She was the daughter, wasn't she, of Michael? If you remember, if you were watching it with me all that time ago, Michael was a guy that initially, we felt a little bit suspicious of, because he seemed very sort of nervous and he sort of interjected himself into everything. But it was his daughter, and she was actively searching for Rachel. She wasn't a passerby. I think it was actually this Michael, her father, who said to her, don't know if he's her stepfather or her father, but said to her to go and look in these drains. So that was another thing that felt a little bit suspicious. But the thing is, Michael, he knows that area inside out. And really, I suppose if you did know it, does seem a likely place, doesn't it, to find somebody's body. So that's not quite true, what Ashley's just said. She was not a passerby. She was searching for Rachel, and she found Rachel.
We just received a call from a Cecilia who's advising that she has located the missing Rachel Morin subject on the Montauk in a tunnel that runs under 23 4 near mile marker 2.75 on the Montauk.
Police called the attack a potentially random act of violence with no obvious suspects or leads. The boyfriend was ruled out from the start. But just 11 days.
Yeah, so her boyfriend might have been ruled out by the police, but of course on social media, you can imagine, can't you? He did, and mainstream media, I think he did get a lot of shade thrown his way. That is just statistics, it normally is the partner, isn't it? Or the ex-partner, or, that unfortunately is the statistical truth. So her partner at the time, he did take a lot of stick also, because he had a bit of a checkered history. He had domestic violence in his past, things like that. So although he was cleared by the police, more or less instantly, as far as the court of public opinion was concerned, really until the police released details that they were looking for a particular suspect with a particular DNA, Rachel's boyfriend unfortunately did get quite a bit of shade thrown his way.
Later, on August 17th, a major break in the case. DNA from Rachel's crime scene matched DNA from another crime scene. A crime scene.
Now, I remember as clear as day Hi, Joanne. I remember as clear as day this press conference that the sheriff gave. And it was really startling, because I don't think any of us were really expecting that. That the murderer of Rachel, their DNA would be matched to a crime right over the other side of America. Gosh, that's a hell of a distance. Let's have a look. From Los Angeles to Maryland. It's a massive distance. Look. So this is where the crime was, in Los Angeles. And he travelled all the way, so there was a lot of speculation. Well, you're thinking, must have transport, must have. And then some people were saying, well, you could get a plane. It wouldn't take that long, because, of course, there's internal flights, etc. But, yeah, very, such a long way away, isn't it? So it was a real shock when Sheriff Jeff came out with this, that this DNA had been found at this other crime scene so far away. And then, of course, where Victor the Viper was finally caught was somewhere in the middle here, like Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he's gone from Los Angeles. Well, he's been on the run from El Salvador to start with, from the previous murder that he did. He's got over the border. He's got somehow, he must have known people maybe in Los Angeles. Of course, there's a high Hispanic what's the word, group there, you know, a lot of people from South America live in Los Angeles. And then he's gone all the way to Maryland, and then from there, when maybe he's, because he did stay there for quite a long time afterwards, he didn't leave immediately. And then somehow he's found his way to Oklahoma, and he was working there. He was working there, my God. He was sat in a bar having a beer when the police went and arrested him. And of course, we watched that as well, didn't we? We watched the arrest video. Just sat there cool as a cucumber having a beer. But I tell you, it was a nice moment, wasn't it, when the police went in? It was a really nice moment when they went in to arrest him. Right, I've got to find my way back to that now. Yeah, he's certainly a traveller.
That was almost 3,000 miles away in Los Angeles. That's where a man had committed a violent home invasion, assaulting a 9-year-old girl.
A 9-year-old girl he'd assaulted. This was before he killed Rachel. So it was just an accident waiting to happen. And this sort of video, it did throw everybody off a little bit, because he's very broad, and you can even see that in his later pictures and that. But like, because this was through like a doorbell camera, I think it exaggerates his size, because when you see him, he's actually a little titch. Like just like a little, but he is, you can see that he's quite muscly, wiry, you know, he's strong. Even though he's little, he's strong, isn't he? Having said that, Rachel was only tiny as well, so I don't think he would have had much problems even though she was fit, you know, she was only little.
And her mother. And it wasn't just DNA that he left behind. He left.
Oh yeah, and her mother as well. So a 9-year-old girl and her mother. So this was him. Do you remember how many times we watched this video? Yes, very broad-backed, isn't he? And then we sort of, his haircut. Now notice when he was arrested, he'd grown his hair. So at the time he was a very close shaven with this fade haircut that's so popular, isn't it? You know, a very broad, he's carrying his shirt. He walks out that house like he's not done anything wrong. You know, it was just breathtaking.
Behind this video clip while making.
Yeah, so look, you can see how broad he is.
His getaway after the assaults.
Doesn't even run off. He just casually comes out that house, goes down those steps. And there was further video of him. He was just yawning and stretching. You know, he doesn't run. Bloody hell. You know, he is ice cold, this guy.
But the suspect's name and his whereabouts remained a mystery for months. 6 months to be exact. That's when investigators released a sketch, hoping for another break. But it really turned out to be the DNA in the case
I don't think
for another break.
The sketch doesn't look like, I'm sorry, I don't think the sketch looks like him at all. Now that we can see him personally, I don't think the sketch was, you know, but sketch, I don't know, what do you think? Look, it's just the nose is too small. It's the same shape, but it's sort of too small. Don't know. Of course, he's grown his hair here. I suppose it looks a little bit like him, but I think the eyes are wrong. But anyway, it's difficult to do a sketch. Sketches rarely look exactly like the person, do they? You know, that's very rare that they look exactly like the person. But anyway, that was the sketch that was done. So I think they were misled by the doorbell cam, because it made him look bigger than he was. And then the sketch didn't look like him. But anyway, in the meantime, of course, where it felt like, I know the family, certain people that I know that know Rachel, they were all giving up a little bit that any answers would ever be found because it was going on so long. But of course, we didn't know that behind the scenes, it was all happening. The DNA was getting matched up, etc.
But it really turned out to be the DNA in the case that led the way. And it was the DNA that eventually solved it. Genetic genealogy turned up potential family members of the suspect in El Salvador. And those relatives gave the FBI a name: Victor Martinez Hernandez, who at just 23 years old was also wanted for the murder of a young Salvadoran woman. Hernandez had slipped.
So he's 23 years old. He's murdered 2 women and a serious assault on a 9-year-old girl and her mother. I still don't really believe in the death penalty, but it's cases like this where I do wonder. Because, he's just breathing everybody else's air, isn't he? What contribution did he give to society? Nothing. And what contribution is he going to give to society? Nothing. Because he won't even admit, what he did. His eyes are like the devil's eyes, aren't they? There's hell in those eyes. Apparently had some gang affiliation, but I don't know if that's really been properly confirmed. Oh, well, he'll fit right in, won't he, in prison? But, they like, if he, hopefully he'll have a really hard time in prison. That's all I can hope for.
Into the United States illegally, no fewer than 4 times in 2023. On 3 separate occasions, he was caught and deported. But on his 4th attempt, he made it past the border and made a break for it. He blended into the population, making his way north and east and west all throughout the United States. But authorities still had no idea where to find him. They ran down 1,000 tips that took them to 7 different states. And finally, on the 14th of June, 2024, Victor Martinez Hernandez.
Oh, so do you see the size of him? Next to these police, the police look like giants next to him, don't they? I mean, this guy probably is tall anyway, because he's a lot taller than this one. But he looks like a bloody murderous hobbit, doesn't he? Looks like a bloody, golem or something. He's like tiny little shrimp, and just just shows you, see, you don't have to be just worried about sort of great big bulky guys or whatever. It's what's going on inside their head that counts. Quite often great big tall guys and whatever, they're like gentle giants, aren't they? And they get picked on because of their size. That happens to my son a lot sometimes. Sometimes you get like little shits like picking on him because they want to, because he's like the 6'5" sort of bulky guy, and these little shits, they want to prove what men they are, like as if that's what proves that you're a man. So that sometimes happens, doesn't it? That these little shits are worse than, big strapping guys who can be just gentle giants, can't they? But of course, doesn't matter someone's size. You just it all on their personality, isn't it? He's got this nasty, he's obviously started very young with whatever happened in El Salvador. Because as I say, he's only 23 now. So, you know, he must have been only about 17, 18 when he started it, or what even did he do before that? We don't know. Don't normally start off with murder, do they, twonks? They normally start off maybe with sexual assaults or even exposing themselves or stuff like that and build up gradually to murder. He's already got to murder at 23, so he wasn't going anywhere nice in his life, was he? But, you know, he seems to have his grandma thought he was bloody brilliant, apparently. So there you go.
On the 14th of June, 2024, Victor Martinez Hernandez was spotted on a bar stool in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the manhunt was over.
At one point, when things seemed like really bleak and hopeless, the lead detective said to me, he said,
now, this, of course, is Rachel's mum. I found it difficult to watch Rachel's mum now, knowing what I know about the whole situation. But anyway, she's still a mum.
patience will win in the end.
The suspect was promptly sent back to Maryland, where charges of first-degree murder, first-degree rape, and kidnapping were waiting. It took the jury all of 1 hour to convict him, right across the board. So now it's all over but the sentencing. And prosecutors want life in prison without the possibility of parole, to make sure that Victor Martinez Hernandez never has the chance to hurt anyone ever again.
In a quick programming note, Rachel Morin's mother, Patty Morin, is going to join us on Monday after the sentencing, along with her attorney, Randolph Price.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Okay. No comment. So that's the first thing I wanted to just talk about. Rachel coming up to her sentencing on Monday. Bless her. I hope her family are okay. You know, her kids and everybody who loves her will be sort of, be weird, won't it? Because it's like looking forward to the moment of sentencing in one way, because sort of the end of that chapter, watching him go away for the rest of his life. I can't see that he's going to get given parole. I just can't see it at all. He's lucky they haven't got the death penalty in that state. I think he'd be a prime candidate for the death penalty. So I will keep you posted on that. I'm going to move on to our next subject now. But hi, Fluffy. Well, as I did say earlier, well, allegedly, so there's a court case going on. So Rachel's children have sued Patty Morin and her lawyer, Randolph Rice, who's going to be on that program on Monday, for misappropriation, because they never saw a penny of the GoFundMe that was set up for the children. The children never saw any of that money. Also, you know, and I'm just saying what people have told me, from what I can gather, she wasn't close to Rachel at all. And people that were close to Rachel say that actually Patty spent more time with Donald Trump than she did with Rachel's children after Rachel was murdered. So Patty sort of hijacked her daughter's murder in a way. Also, she's been on tour and she gives a lot of graphic details as well and things, you know. So anyway, that's my opinion. Maybe I'm one-sided in my opinion. I'm sure Patty's got her own story to tell. But just to let you know that the family are divided. And to me, the most important people are Rachel's children. They're the most important people, more than anybody else, aren't they, in Rachel's life? They've had the biggest loss. But so this court case is ongoing, apparently. Is that my phone there? So, you know, as I say, people have to make of it what they will. Sorry, I thought I heard a message. So yeah, that's fine. So if I could ask you one last time, put up some orange hearts for, I'm going to find out where I can put the orange heart. Let's put up the orange hearts for Rachel. My phone keeps beeping at me. It's getting on my nerves. So yeah, if we could put some orange hearts up for Rachel, that'd be great. And really for her kids as well, because they're, you know, the older ones, they'll be fully aware of everything that's going on. And yeah, just waiting for the sentencing, and hopefully it'll give some peace when he's, you know, put inside and they throw away the key. And I hope that Rachel's children eventually get their GoFundMe that they were supposed to have. He's going in the hellhole. Horrible, horrible person. And, you know, this is why I don't like GoFundMes, because, you know, you can never be sure they're going to the right person. It's better to just send money directly to people. That's something I've started doing. Just send it directly to them, and you don't have to tell the world about it. You know, you just, if you want to help a family, it's probably just better to find out how you can send it directly to the person you want it to go to. That's what I think. Okay, so let's take Rachel's picture off now. You know, it's I think it's all, I almost feel sort of sad when you get to the end of these cases, because I know that for a fact, for families, they like to think that their loved ones are still alive in one way or another. And when people stop talking about Rachel, that's sad, isn't it, as well? So it's sort of like looking forward to the sentencing. And I'm sure I will still talk about Rachel, but the main thing of the case, like the trial and the sentencing, etc., and the verdict, you know, but there'll be things that will come up and we will talk about Rachel again. And that sort of keeps her alive in one way or another, doesn't it? So, yeah, I've got a little tribute video to Rachel, actually. I think I might just play that, if I can find it. Have I still got it? I'm sure I have. I definitely. There it is. I'll just play this, and then we're going to move on to the next subject. God, I actually got quite emotional there. I haven't watched that for ages. I made that quite a while ago, and I've played it here and there when we've been talking about Rachel, but I just haven't watched it for ages, and it actually got me quite emotional, bless her. Hey, okay, deep breaths. So yeah, orange hearts, because it was her favourite flower is a tiger lily, which is orange apparently. So it's just always been orange hearts for Rachel, Okay, deep breaths, deep breaths. Because I've spoken to people who know Rachel, it feels even closer, when you actually do get some interaction with the people that are closest to her. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this next subject, which is we're going over the other side of the world now to the UK. And we're going to Blackpool, of all places, Cleveley's Beach, I think it's called. Let me put some windows down. And then Thornton Cleveley's in Blackpool. Let's have a look where it is. Anyone from the UK will know Blackpool, I would imagine. Blackpool is a famous sort of holiday destination in the UK, in the north. Bye, Tracy. Let's have a look at this. So Thornton Cleveley's is in the north, and this is the Thornton Cleveley Beach, apparently. Where's Blackpool? So here's Blackpool. Let's look in the context of where we are in the UK. Yeah, you can see it's in the north, not far from Liverpool, Manchester, etc. When I lived in Manchester when I was young, we used to often go to Blackpool for the weekend. It was about an hour's drive. It wasn't far. Or you get the train, we'd get the train there. So here's the coast, and it was found, apparently, these remains, these human remains, this body was found somewhere around here. It's not far from Fleetwood, you can see. You may have heard of Fleetwood. I remember going to Fleetwood when I was a kid, because that's where they do a lot of crabbing, isn't it? Is it Fleetwood? And I do have a very strong memory of being on the jetty, and there were just all these massive crabs everywhere. It's like really, it's like stuck with me. God knows how old I was. But yeah, quite often used to go to Blackpool or Southport with my parents. That's where we would go for a day out. You get a coach or a train. Easy to get to from Manchester. And of course the Pleasure Beach, Blackpool Pleasure Beach, with all the rides, etc. and stuff. We were talking about that last week. Apparently it's really expensive now. It wouldn't have been that expensive then, because my parents wouldn't have been able to afford to take me if it was. So that's where we are. So who is this person who's been found? Now, we don't know yet, do we? Let's have a look at the actual article. An article somewhere. So this is the Manchester Evening News. Police update as the skeleton found on the beach is confirmed to be human remains. So it's definitely a person. But we don't, as far as I know, we don't know, up to making this video, we don't know who it is, if it's a man, a woman, a young person, an older person. We just don't know the details. We just know it's definitely a person. It's not animal remains. So apparently a group of teenagers made the grim discovery, and this is the beach where it was found. I mean, obviously it's not a current picture, because I expect it's a busier beach at the moment during the holiday, during the holidays, summer holidays. Don't you think a beach is a funny place to bury a body? Because beaches do change, don't they? If there's a big storm, things get washed up, sand gets, what's the word? Gosh, some of the beaches here after a storm, they're unrecognizable from what they were before the storm. So, yeah, it's taking a chance, isn't it, to bury a body on a beach, I would say. I mean, are they going to come up with... are they going to end up saying there's no suspicious circumstances? You know what it's like. They're like, oh, no suspicious circumstances in the end. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So, police have launched an investigation after a group of teenagers discovered skeletal human remains on a beach in the UK. Officers were called to Thornton Cleveley's in Blackpool just before 1:15 on Thursday to reports of skeletal remains in the sand. And Lancashire police confirmed on Friday that the remains are human. And they say they're trying to identify the person as well as the cause of death. Now, of course, it is possible that it's, an immigrant or someone. People are always washing it into shore, aren't they? They've fallen off these migrant boats or whatever. Now, this is interesting. So the force also urged, whoops, where is it? Where's it gone? I hate it when it jumps like this. The force also urged anyone who filmed video footage on their mobile phones at the scene to avoid sharing the footage online. Yeah, so you can bet if a load of teenagers found this body, there'll be videos all over the place. Pictures of the scene sent to Lancs Live show police standing guard next to the remains, alongside forensic officers in white suits. Now, it could be, as I say, someone who drowned. It may not be suspicious circumstances. But a skeleton, have they been washed up from the sea? Seems funny to me for someone to bury someone on a beach. We received a report of a skeleton being found on the beach in Thornton Cleveley shortly before 1:15 on August the 7th. The remains have been confirmed to be human, and inquiries are ongoing to identify the deceased and find out how they died. Gosh, just, secrets come up, don't they, from the sea? The sea does give up its secrets quite often eventually, doesn't it? We know that this attracted quite a bit of attention in the local area yesterday, and we want to thank the teenagers who reported this to us for their assistance. Could you imagine finding a skeleton on the beach? Oh my God. And to the members of the public for their patience while our officers carried out their duties. However, there were a number of people at the scene attempting to film. I mean, that's modern life now, isn't it? We want to use this time to remind you that there are real people affected by this, and ask that you please consider and respect that and avoid sharing footage online. Yeah, because, at the end of the day, that could be our family, couldn't it? Could be a member of your family, my family. A matter of respect. It shouldn't be shared online, should it? Could be one of their families, the people that are recording it. I mean, just don't know. Any missing person in that area now, really, it could be, isn't it? So that's basically all we know about that. But a lot of, there is, obviously, you can't stop online speculation, unfortunately. People are speculating about this girl. So this is a very famous case, Charlene Downs. And this is the girl that went missing in Blackpool quite a long time ago now, and has never been found. And it's thought that she was part of a grooming gang, wasn't she? She was groomed by the guys that owned a kebab shop, and then they were actually prosecuted for a murder. There was talk that they'd been boasting that they'd ground her up and put her in the kebabs, etc. It's awful. It's an awful. I have done a video about Charlene. It's on my channel somewhere. This poor girl, I think she was 15, was she? And yeah, this is the last CCTV. I don't think this person that's with Charlene here has ever been identified. So her body was never found. This is her parents. Something happened to Charlene. You can see in this photo of Charlene, her eyes are dead, aren't they? There's something going on with Charlene there, possibly because she was being groomed. And who is this person? Oh, she was only 14. Who is this person here with her? Who is it? It's a very mysterious case. I might do an update on it soon, but this was in Blackpool. So that's why people are speculating about Charlene. But of course, we don't know even if it is a girl, if it's a man, a woman, a girl or a young boy. Just don't know anything. It's just that it's a skeleton. Now, I think it's interesting that they say a skeleton. So it's not dismembered remains. Well, they didn't say that anyway, did they? They didn't say that the body was in pieces. They said a skeleton. So we presume that the body is all in one piece. Oh. Now, yeah, that's her, David. And, it's horrible, really, isn't it? Because Charlene will always be thought of, won't she? Remembered as the girl that possibly was put in a kebab, and that's horrible, isn't it? And the other thing I wanted to say, not only about Charlene but about all these, I try and stay away from these stories of grooming gangs and things, because there are lots of grooming gangs out there. They're not all Asian, but it is definitely a problem. But the other thing to me is, when your 14-year-old girl is that, where do the parents think they are? If your 14-year-old girl is out till, God knows what time, and her personality looks to me like it changed completely. It's like 1 minute she was a little girl and then she's got these dead eyes like this. Why don't I do think that a lot of children these days, they're just allowed to roam around at 14 years old, and they either get into trouble like drug culture, the boys are getting into gangs and stuff like that, and then a lot of the girls get groomed by these grooming gangs, etc. I do think they're very easy targets because they don't get enough control. If it's true that these children are selling themselves for kebabs or cigarettes or alcohol at 14 or even younger, why have they not been taught to respect themselves more than think they're only worth a packet of cigarettes or a kebab? There's I'm not saying the grooming gangs don't need sorting out, of course they do, but I think there's a bigger picture here. These what I would call feral children just roaming around the streets with no parental control whatsoever, doing what the hell they want, from 11 years old or even younger sometimes, and they are such easy prey for these vile predators. They're easy meat, aren't they? They literally are. Just waiting to be abused almost, because, and these groomers, these paedophile gangs, be they Asian ones or any nationality, they hone in on children. Children get honed in on when they've got no one to protect them. That's why it's quite often children from foster homes, isn't it? Sorry, not foster homes, from care homes, etc. That will get targeted because they haven't, they don't feel like anybody cares about what they do anyway. So I think there's a wider picture here that children are, at the end of the day, children are easy victims if they haven't got self-respect. Nobody's wondering, Why are they out till 12 o'clock at night at the age of 13, 14? You know, what are they doing? Where are they going? You know, there is something in that. You know, it's not, I do think it's something that needs looking at personally. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I'll probably get into trouble for saying it, but to me, it's the truth. So we've got, we've just got to wait and see, basically, what happens here. We don't know that that's Charlene Downs or anything to do with Charlene Downs. It's just that Charlene Downs is someone who's missing there. She won't be the only one, but it's just something that people have mentioned because obviously a body gets found in Blackpool, a skeletal remains. So it's been there. You know, it's not a new death. It's bound to be something. But it does make me wonder if it's somebody who's been washed up on the shore, like, you know, a skeleton that's been washed up. Would somebody bury there, or have there been storms that have disrupted? I mean, you know, we don't know anything yet. It could be any of those things. So that led me on as well, but to start talking about Jack Sullivan. I mean, Jack O'Sullivan. Now, you know, we don't know what's happened to Jack either. I think about his mum every day. Honestly, I do, and I've been wanting to do an update on Jack, but there is no real update as far as I can see. I can't find an, though, you know, because what happened with Jack O'Sullivan, he went missing. He went to a party. He was on the text to his mum and things like that, and then he just sort of went off the radar, didn't he? And then his mum has never known since what happened to him. Let me get a bigger picture up. Oh, let's have a look at some. And the reason that made me think about even more about Jack and his mum is I think anyone, as I said at the beginning of this video, anyone with missing relatives, missing loved ones, as soon as remains are found, it must cross their mind. Is this my loved one? Must do. And Jack, I think he was 22 when he went missing, but he's had a birthday since because he's been gone over a year. You know, it must cross your mind, isn't it? Your loved one has disappeared and suddenly, you know, all you hear is remains have been found, and it must cross your mind, at least for a moment. And it's like, obviously you don't want it to be them because that means they're deceased. That's your worst fears confirmed, isn't it? But then, of course, you would at least know what had happened to them, because, you know, spending every day wondering if your loved one is being tortured or what's happening to them, or, you know, it must. I literally don't know how these poor people get up every morning and go about their normal day. You know, and Catherine, we've seen Catherine, we're going to have a look at an interview with Catherine, his mum. She's a very strong woman. You feel like she's holding the rest of the family together. That's his dad and his brother. Catherine's the one that comes and does like the media type things, gets interviewed, etc. Now they did have they've still got a Facebook page, but you know what? She had to step back from the Facebook page because she was getting trolled. You know, these like ridiculous, what's the word for it? These trolls that go out and say horrible things to families of missing people. And unfortunately, although I think the Facebook group, you know, would have been set up for tips and things like that, they did get a lot of trolls as well. So, yeah. So, although the Facebook page is still there, it's more or less dormant now. They don't write on it very often. They don't put comments on there very often. So yeah, it made me think, and I thought, I wonder if it'll cross Catherine's mind. Will you think, you know, here we go, we've got remains found. Is it at all possible it might be Jack's? And not only Catherine, but I think anyone who has a missing loved one from anywhere in the UK, really, because especially if people had gone in the sea, you know, they could end up anywhere, couldn't they? Or we don't know if Jack got into a car and went, or Catherine seemed to think that it might have got in a car and gone off somewhere. You just don't know, do you, if who it is. So we don't know if it's a man or a woman. So it's likely that it's not Jack. I'm not saying it is Jack, but I'm just saying it must be awful when these things happen. For a loved one of any missing person, you'd be sort of, you know, oh gosh, is this them? And sort of torn between this sort of, well, at least you would know what had happened to them, but, you know, it confirms your very worst fears that you don't even want to think about. And of course, they've got to come up with a cause of death and all that sort of thing. But it's harder with a skeleton to establish a cause of death, isn't it? Unless they're actually, you know, if someone's been hit over the head, you can tell with a skull because of the blunt force trauma, etc. But other, you know, because it's a skeleton rather than having soft flesh on it, it will be more difficult to establish the cause of death. For example, if the cause of death was drowning, how would you establish that with a skeleton, I wonder? Because there were, you know, there's no lungs, I presume. So yeah, all these things that we just got to wait, really. Now, at least now there's, I'm presuming Jack's DNA and the DNA of most missing people will be in some sort of database, won't it? The missing persons database. So thanks to DNA, at least, you know, missing people that have given, whose families have given over their DNA, will be able to either be confirmed or eliminated. So yeah, it's in. Someone's going to get some answers. Hopefully, somewhere along the line, somebody who doesn't know what's happened to their loved one is going to get some answers. That's all we can hope for, isn't it? So let's go to Jack then, but in particular, and I'll keep you updated, of course, about what happens with this body, this skeleton. I'll keep you updated. As soon as we hear any more, I will tell you about it. So we're going to have a look at an interview that, let me again put some windows down. We're going to have a look at an interview that Jack's mum did with, I'm afraid it's Talk TV, which is one of my least favourite channels. And also the host that's giving the interview is one of my least favourite hosts. But this is the most recent one that I could find. So this was, I think it was July. So not that long ago that this interview was done with Catherine. That's why I chose it, because it's probably one of the most recent. Okay, so this is Talk TV with Kevin O'Sullivan. Anyway, let me know what you think. I think he's drunk through most of his broadcasts, to be honest, but there you go. Tell me what you think.
I mean, obviously I've read it, but welcome to the show, Catherine.
You know, he always looks just totally pissed off, doesn't he? Like he can't be arsed. And he starts off by saying, tell us the story. Obviously, I know it, but blah, blah, blah. I just don't like his attitude at all.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. Now, basically tell us the story. I mean, obviously I've read it, but Jack went to a party.
Maybe he's just got an unfortunate manner. I'm going to give him a break. He might have an unfortunate manner, so I'm not going to say any more about him.
On March the 2nd, his phone remained active until 6:44 a.m. There was one phone call by someone. He picked the phone up, said hello, and then was never heard of again. And there's some sort of mysterious CCTV of him as well. You tell us the story, Catherine.
Okay, well, Jack went out to a party on the night of the 1st of March, which went into obviously the 2nd of March, when he didn't come home that evening. And, you know, we had no reason to be concerned.
Darren loves Kevin. Well, do you know what? I'm going to give him another chance. But I find him very difficult to watch. But anyway, each to their own. Now, Catherine's always so very dignified, isn't she? And you know, she must just think, gosh, here I am again telling this story again and no answers, you know. But yeah, so he'd gone to a party, hadn't he? He'd gone to a party. It was a midweek night, it wasn't a weekend. It was with people that she said he didn't know very well. Now, there was some sort of incident at this party. There was definitely some sort of an altercation. There's some talk that he may have banged his head and been a bit disorientated. He then decided to go home. He was supposed to be trying to flag a taxi down. You know, it's quite a mistake. I don't think we do know the whole circumstances. And then he was texting his mum. She offered to go and get him. He said no, he was fine. He was going to get a taxi. Then he tried to phone one of the people at the party. They didn't get the phone call. And then they tried to ring him back, and they said that Jack answered the phone, said hello, and then the phone cut out. You know, so it is a mysterious disappearance, this.
It was just a gathering of people who he recently met via his studies, because he was doing a law conversion course in Bristol. So, you know, I had a communication from him at about 10 to 2, telling me where he was and how he intended getting home. And, you know, my husband and I went to bed, and I woke up at just before 5:30 in the morning. And I immediately felt something was wrong, because Jack had never stayed out before, and certainly not told us where he was, and it was, you know, alarm bells went off for me very quickly. So we, you know, I immediately rang him, texted him, WhatsApped him, sent messages galore, and obviously we didn't hear anything back. So very quickly, my husband and I got dressed and got into the car and shot off to this address that my phone was kind of telling me he was at. But it was to no avail. There was nobody there. And basically, you know, no sign of him, no communication from him. So we searched around that area ourselves, and then went home and immediately phoned the police, because even though you know, they did tell us you have to wait to report a missing person, I felt...
Now, you can imagine when you ring the police about a 23-year-old or a 22-year-old, as he was then. I often think it, you know, when my son goes out, you know, he's an adult now. So you sometimes he's gone out once, he never came back till he went out Friday, didn't come back till Sunday. No message, no nothing. So the thing is, you sort of start thinking, oh, should I be worried? Well, he's a grown man. Do you know, oh, should I be worried? Shouldn't I be worried? Blah, 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 blah. And you can imagine she probably got short shrift from the police, you know, saying, oh, my son hasn't come home. Oh, how old is he? Oh, well, he's 22. Oh, well, he's probably, you know, met some girl or gone off partying or whatever. And then you'd be saying to him, no, but he's not like that. And it'd be like, oh, yeah, you know, because they've heard it all before, haven't they? So, you know, the police... I can imagine that she didn't get much joy with the police. I've just got to go and give my dog some water. I've just realised they've got no water in their bowl. Oh, my God, and it's boiling. So I'll put the video back on and go and give them some water, poor things.
Immediately, there was a problem here. But we weren't able to report him missing for a few hours, because that's the procedure.
Okay.
And here we are, it's 145 days on, and no sign, or nobody knows anything, nobody's seen anything.
Where was Catherine, where was this last CCTV footage of him? What was that? That was near the party, or what was that after? Well, or is it definitely him? Or
yes, I mean, I can confirm it's him, because I've seen what the footage you're actually showing on the screen in front of me now is the footage I found myself that the police had completely overlooked. I do appreciate it's a very long range angle, and
But you know that's him.
I know.
A mother knows her son's walk, doesn't it? Doesn't
absolutely,
she? Yeah.
That's it. And actually, the footage you're showing now is it's gone again. But there's a very significant piece of footage that the police had in their possession on the very first day of Jack being missing. But they're looking at the wrong angle of the camera. So what they're looking at turned out to be the railings, and the actual footage of Jack right in front of them. They missed until we were on week 12 of him being missing.
How did you find it yourself, this CCTV?
Well, I had alarm bells ringing because my husband and I would go to the area where we were certain he had been ourselves, just to kind of build up a picture in our own mind of which way he could have.
Now, poor Catherine, she's had to do a lot of the detective work herself, hasn't she? Getting the phone records and all sorts of things. She doesn't feel that the police dealt with it very well. And you can see Catherine's not a sort of person who would normally criticise the police, I get the impression. And I'm not criticising the police because the police, unfortunately, the truth is, I'm not saying they don't care about Jack, because they do, of course. But they've got so many other things going on, haven't they? So many other things going on. Whereas for Catherine, this is it. This is her son. There's only one case as far as Catherine's concerned. So as a family member of a missing person, you do, I think, have to do quite a bit of work yourself, which is a shame. But, because of the cut down on police resources and everything, that is just, unfortunately, the state of Britain and probably a lot of places. The person, your loved one, is more important to you, aren't they? So it's unfortunate that Catherine's had to do this. Kathy's had to do this kind of thing herself, but and as time goes on, the police are less and less likely, aren't they, to search for Jack? That's just, unfortunately, a sad fact of life.
Gone, what could have happened? And we came across some police on one of our visits who had been asked to look for CCTV later than what was initially asked for. Well, my immediate question was, why? Why are you looking for later? Surely you've got that. And it became very apparent that only up until a certain time had been collected,
right?
Which worried me because my limited amount of detective work would surely say, well, we must look for him until the phone goes dead,
right?
Yeah. And that hadn't been done. So I asked the police repeatedly, could I see the CCTV myself? And I was told, oh, that was unnecessary. That's not procedure. You can't do that. But I was very persistent. I must admit, I did keep asking.
Well, quite right. Quite right.
And, then to find footage, which I was 100% certain as soon as I saw it that it was Jack, to be told, no, we don't think that's Jack. I did have grave concerns at that point. And as I said, where the final footage we have.
What do you think about that? So she's saying that there was footage that she thought was Jack. She is his mum. I think you do recognise your kids, don't you? Or do you think that it's just she so wanted it to be Jack that would the police say, no, we don't think it's Jack? And she's saying, yeah, I think it is Jack. Who do you think is more likely to be not truthful, because it's not, who's more likely to be correct, the mum or the police?
To me, it's very clear that it is Jack.
And I was. What sort of time was that, and whereabouts was that?
So that was the exact time of it is 3:39, and it is walking up a slip road, kind of against the traffic. Back up on the shot that you're looking at now, he is walking on the left hand side of that.
Right.
and walking along a slip road. And I was told categorically by the police, there is nobody on that footage that appears to be Jack. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
I saw it and I knew it was Jack.
Listen, Catherine, what I'm going to do now is tell our audience that you have a Facebook page called Find Jack, and there's a GoFundMe page, and that is called Raising Money to Help Find Jack -official. Raising money to help find Jack -official, and there's a Facebook page called Find Jack. So I urge everyone to put some money in for a start, and secondly, maybe have a look at Find Jack. You never know, people might be able to help. But you were indicating there, Catherine, that you're less than happy with the police's conducting of this case. Avon and Somerset Police, you've lodged a complaint against them. Just trying to explain why.
Well, you know, nobody wants to be in this position, obviously, but our concerns were building with all the mistakes that we were finding out. And we were advised to ask for a re-review of the case. And we were told then the only way you can get a case re-reviewed is to complain. So we were kind of, I wouldn't say we were completely forced into it, but that's all we were pleading was for somebody else to cast a set of eyes over some of these grave errors and try and put them right. You know, our biggest problem is the fact that so much time has passed that, you know, we've lost that precious opportunity of people's knowledge, memory, dash cam footage, you know, doorbell footage.
Well, do you have any, I mean, it's difficult to speculate. Do you have any personal theories about what might have happened to him?
I really, really don't. I mean, you know, I'm watching him walk along. He's walking with purpose. I know he's attempted to get a taxi prior to his setting off on that journey. Do
you think he was trying to walk home then, or?
No, well, by the time we see him walking in the direction he is, I believe that he was heading back to an area that he always took taxis from because that was a common place for him. So, you know, we can't find any phone knowledge that suggests he tried to book a taxi via an app. But, you know, that's my firm belief was he was trying to pick up a car, you know, taxi.
To get home. Well, listen, I mean, you know, obviously our hearts go out to you, and what a terrible thing to happen to you. But try to sum up how it's been, how you feel. I mean, it must be a living nightmare for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. We're in hell, basically. You know, we get through a day mostly by our drive to find out what to do next.
You know, they say, I'll tell you what, next time you think you're having a bad day, just think you're not having a day as bad as Catherine's having. I just think you must be like, you wake up in the morning, for a minute, I expect you think it's all been a bad dream, I don't know. And then you've got to put one foot in front of the other, not only to try and find Jack, but of course, Catherine's got her husband to think about, her other son to think about. You know, you've got, to me with Catherine, I feel like she's keeping going because she's the one that's keeping everybody going. I don't know who keeps her going, probably just her drive, like she says, to see her son again. She must just be desperate to see him again and know that he's okay. And, you know, this day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, and now we're over a year since Jack disappeared. So you can't, it's difficult to feel optimistic, isn't it? But she needs answers one way or another. You know, there's a lot of water around where Jack was walking, but I know a lot of it has been searched. But, you know, we know that bodies that go into water, people that go into water, they're not easy to find always, are they? But this is a long time that, of course, Jack hasn't been found. Just hope she gets some answers eventually. I mean, it'd be nice if there were positive answers, the answers she wants. I expect she would love to just give him a big hug. I hope she gets to do that one day. But some answers surely are better than nothing.
You know, that is keeping us going at the moment. And, you know, the general public, complete strangers are really helping us. But it's so hard, you know, it's very hard to make sense of the fact that Jack's not here. You know, that in itself is breaking our hearts. But
I can
to
imagine.
know that there's knowledge that has been sort of overlooked is really compounding it.
So
yeah.
listen, just quickly before you go, and we'll keep in touch, and whatever we can do to help. You know, obviously we're here, and we do have some sort of audience, so hopefully somebody might know something. But just before you go, Catherine, it's very kind of you to talk to us, by the way. Just a little bit about Jack. Tell us about what kind of kid he was.
Well, Jack is a very.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake.
It's fine. It's my special thing. I do correct everyone. For me,
I shouldn't have said that.
I mean, that's so easily done. So I can't criticise if that's so easily done when you're talking. You know, he talked about him in the past tense, and I know Catherine is always at pains to speak about Jack in the present tense because she has to think, you know, that he will come back. She has to stay positive. I just realised I've got the same surnames, haven't they? Kevin O'Sullivan, yeah, and Jack O'Sullivan.
You're damn right. Tell me what kind of kid Jack is.
Jack is, I would say, the most determined, obstinate, difficult, charming, lovely young man. I mean, if there's a right or a wrong, Jack will move for hell and earth to get it right. Very clever, and a real high achiever, but in a very understated way. So, you know, you wouldn't hear him. He'd be very quietly in the background, taking it all in, but very ambitious, and a real, well, a credit to us, but a very loving son, you know, and a loving brother. So, as you can imagine, our world is not as it was.
It's just so awful, and you know, you'll find him. Let's hope you find him. But we will keep in touch, Catherine. As I say.
Oh look, you can see she's filling up because she's just been holding it together all the way through that interview, and then as soon as she's talking about him and like that, she's filling up. Bless her. I bet as soon as she comes, she's always so calm and collected on the interviews. I bet as soon as the camera goes off, she just dissolves into tears. And you can see that she's filled up there, bless her.
I'll read this out again to everybody. Go to Facebook, have a look at the Find Jack page. You might be able to help. Or the GoFundMe page is called Raising Money to Help Find Jack Official. And tell me what the reward pot is right now, Catherine, if you can.
Well, the reward was essentially put in place for information. You know, it's not, to me, it feels slightly immoral to ask somebody to pay someone to
anything
give
that helps, though. Anything
but
that helps.
We'll try anything. You know, it was a suggestion, and we just said, fine, if that's the advice, we'll take it.
And how much? So just in case there is somebody out there who wants who's got information and fancies some money, how much? Is it?
Well, the reward is set up for £20,000.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Catherine. Well, listen, as I say, our hearts go out to you. Obviously, my best to your family, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much for talking to us. That's Catherine O'Sullivan, mother of Jack O'Sullivan. You just heard that story. Can you imagine the hell that family, then poor Mrs. O'Sullivan there? What an awful thing to happen.
Yeah. Very awful, very awful. So that was the last interview that I could find that she did. That was just done a few weeks ago in July. I think just before we finish, we'll just have a look at the Facebook page. As I say, she hardly ever updates it now. The last update from Catherine was the 10th of July. where she was letting everybody know that they now have a PO box set up. So anyone can pass on any information, and it can be sent to the address at the end of this message. This can be done anonymously if you so wish. Could you please share this with as many people as possible? Actually, I haven't shared it. I need to share that. All we would ask is that the PO box is kept strictly for relevant information and not for speculation or theories. So the thing is, she's trying to control the social media, really, because the problem for Catherine is that the place she's in, you know, what's happening to her. She needs social media to try and get the message out as much as possible. But as we know, social media is good for that. It's nothing better than social media for getting a message out. But unfortunately, it comes with negative things as well, doesn't it? So, you know, you have to be sort of ruthless with the trolls, really. You know, because that's what's happened basically to Catherine. So, you know, with this, the case of her son, it's good that as as exposure grew and more people got to know about Jack being missing, that's a good thing. But also it brings a load of false information and trolls in as well, doesn't it? So you've got to be have a pretty thick skin to cope with social media. I know that just from being on YouTube, never mind having a missing son or whatever. You know, it's difficult to cope with people being horrible. We've seen it in the John George case. We've seen it in Jay Slater, in Nicola Bulley, all those cases. People just lose their head a little bit, don't they? And they seem to think that it's okay to attack people who are grieving or whatever. So, you know, but that, if you want, like, you know, a good amount in your GoFundMe, or you want a good amount of publicity, you have to take the good with the bad. That is the way it is. There's no point whinging about it. There's no point in questioning it. It is as it is, and human nature has always been the same. It's just now with social media, it feels like everyone's turned into a troll. But they've not. They've always probably been those nasty kind of people around, but they used to send poison pen letters, didn't they? That would be something people did years ago. Send people anonymous letters or make anonymous phone calls. You know, stuff like that, which you can't really do now. It's difficult to make an anonymous phone call now unless you've got burner phone or something. So unfortunately, Catherine's, you know, had to sort of see that. And it's a shame. But anyway, it's the way it is. So most people, 99% probably of people, care about Catherine finding, and the family finding Jack. Their heart is in the right place, and sometimes people's heart is in the right place when they give it what turns out to be false information. Not everybody does it from a snidey point of view, like, you know, like they've had she's had contact from people saying, oh, they kidnapped him and asking for ransom, like with Jay Slater and things. I'm not talking about those people. Some people are genuinely think they're helping, but it turns out to be a false sighting or false information, but they don't know that. So there's a lot of that to sift through, isn't it? So yeah, that's the PO box. If anybody knows anything and wants to contact anonymously, the PO box is on the Find Jack website. And I think the last one before that. Yeah, now this is interesting. So I'd just like to say how much my family and that, this was the 7th of June, how we appreciate the support that has come from sharing our information and supporting our search for Jack. We've been quiet for a while, but we are still constantly working behind the scenes on getting answers. And unlike the authorities, we follow up on all information that comes our way. We will never give up, as we are more certain than ever that someone knows what has happened to Jack and where he is. And we ask again for any information to be shared with us via our page. So there's an email there as well that you can contact. Please do the right thing and pass on any information that could help us find Jack and bring him home. Stop and think for a minute. If this was your son, brother or friend, how would you feel after all this time? We are just a normal family that are completely broken without our Jack. It's been 15 months of unimaginable hell. Please do the right thing and share any information that could help us. Many thanks. So that's a personal message from Catherine on her Facebook page, on the Find Jack Facebook page. So yeah, I just wanted to go over Jack's case again. I will do every now and again. Hopefully I won't have to for long, if something will come up and Jack's mum and the rest of the family will get to find out what's happened to him, and hopefully it'll be positive. But anyway, I wanted to talk about that. So yeah, now I will be cutting this video into 3 smaller videos, separating off about Rachel Morin, about the finding of the remains on the Blackpool beach, and about the reminder that Jack is still missing. Let's keep his name alive. And who knows, one day somebody just might remember something. That's all you can hope for. I hope this woman has not got to, hopefully she's not be spending the rest of her life wondering what happened to her son. And even if he is deceased, at least she needs a chance to put him to rest. I just think not having answers, I don't know, I just can't imagine it. I honestly can't imagine it. I know at Christmas was a nightmare for them. We've got second Christmas not that far off, just a couple of months away. His birthday, all those, Mother's Day will have been a nightmare. All those kind of things that they've got to sort of live through days. The thing is about big days as well, like Christmas, big dates, Easter, somebody's birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, depending on. These are the days that are the hardest, I think, because the rest of the year round, just with normal bereavements, when you lose somebody, getting through Christmas, getting through their birthday, especially the first year, but I don't think it gets that much easier, really. Gradually, I suppose it does. But these are days you can't avoid, because most of the time you're having that, like your normal life, everybody's just carrying on, Groundhog Day, just getting through the days. And when it comes to Christmas is everywhere, isn't it? It's all over the telly. People, they represent Christmas as a time when families get together and we all have a great time. And of course, the reality is not that, is it? But that's the way it's presented. You can't escape it because it's all over everything. Not only the telly, but, adverts like in your town, billboards. You cannot try and forget that it's Christmas because it's such a big holiday, a big family occasion. So these are the worst days, aren't they? The special occasions. I know my ex-partner, he died on Valentine's Day, so I never enjoyed a Valentine's Day, for years afterwards. Literally just used to lock myself in the house. And now I have had some really nice Valentine's Days, but, because that was quite a long time ago. But it's probably, 20 odd years ago now. But because it's marked by a special occasion, like you can't escape Valentine's Day. It's all over everything, so special occasions must be a nightmare for this family. So prayers that they get some resolution soon. So thank you for watching. I will see you as always really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Thank you. Bye. So we got